Tim,
Fabulous.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, when I was thinking about how we can get our students to relax today, because we know that this is really stressful,
Are you going to explain your costume change?
I was going to. I thought, if I get into character, then, if they see how silly I look and
You
I'm
don't look
okay with it,
silly.
come on,
No, you don't look silly at all.
holding my teddy bear.
Well, it's
Uh,
your.
computer.
And don't cover
Um,
your mic.
and so we all know that we're many things, right? I feel very comfortable holding the teddy bear because I am both a professor and a mom and a wife and all kinds of other
And a
things.
child at heart.
I'm completely a child at
Yes.
heart. And so I'm so happy to introduce this next project, which I believe all colleges should look at seriously in the future. Introducing the Growth Collective, Briana Figarella and Gretta Prostak.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us here today. My name is Greta,
And I'm Briana, and we are the founders of the Growth Collective.
a community space for the non-traditional student and the student parent. And here is our story.
Hello. Hello. I'm currently a full-time student, but more importantly, I'm a full-time mom. When deciding to go to school, it was difficult to make these big decisions that were going to disrupt my family's way of life. I knew I wanted an education to make a better future for myself and my child, but even in the very early stages, I found the higher education system difficult to navigate as a student parent. I didn't know if it was better to do online schooling or in-person schooling to accommodate for my busy schedule. I didn't know if any of the schools in the area provided quality daycare or even family housing. Did I qualify for specialized financial aid? I desperately needed answers and I yearned for a community. I was lucky enough to find Briana here at Emerson at my first semester, and we bonded over our similar situations.
Like Greta, I'm a full-time student and non-traditional at 28 years old. I was raised by teen parents who pursued their degrees while raising a family, and that put a lot of responsibility on me growing up, and I saw the unique challenges that my family faced. When I turned 18, I thought college was going to be easy for me, but then I quickly realized that I needed to get a better hold on my mental health, as well as figuring out how to balance work and school before I was truly ready for higher education. And I decided to take some time off to gain more stability in my life. When I finally felt ready to re-enroll, I realized that there were little to no resources out there to help me figure out these systems and how to navigate them. I just didn't know where to turn to, and I realized I had to do this all on my own.
Establishing the Growth Collective will ensure that our demographic has the support it needs to be successful in higher education.
Through the Growth Collective's efforts, we will provide guidance, resources, and most importantly, community to the non-traditional student. Thank you.
Thanks.
So like Greta and I said, we are part of the demographic that we want to serve. So when forming the Growth Collective, it was really important to us to get testimonials from students that were in situations similar to ours. And a common thread was among all of them. People struggled to find resources, guidance, and community. There just wasn't enough of any of these things. And a lot of people felt that even if they were being successful, so many of their peers were falling through the cracks of the system. So it is an advantage to be from the demographic that we're trying to serve, and we want to really value intersectionality at the Growth Collective. On top of being a non-traditional student, I'm also Latina. I'm from a first-generation family on my dad's side, and I grew up living well below the poverty line. So I know the unique challenges that come along with being in that intersecting identity, and we want to value that at the Growth Collective.
And like Briana, I'm also non-traditionally aged, but I'm also a student parent. So one of our core values here at the Growth Collective will be ensure that student parents know that mom or dad don't need to be their only title. And it's okay to have dreams and aspirations and be pursuing them just like their traditionally aged student peers. And people like Briana and I will be on the inside advocating for their success.
We envision our model being B2B because we want to partner with local schools, colleges, and universities in particular to implement our program widespread. We would love to start here at Emerson College, where we have found our next start, and really form a pilot program here where we would offer services such as academic and financial advising, as well as other workshops to encourage the non-traditional student. And we think we could be a very mutually beneficial relationship for higher education. We will help to diversify the student body through our outreach efforts. Numbers are showing now that traditionally students are not going straight to college after high school. So would help to reach an untapped demographic of people that really want a second chance, but just need some more guidance and support to do that. We also want to stress that we don't want to just help the Emerson community here that's already enrolled. We want our organization to be very community-based, so we want to reach out to people who haven't started in higher ed yet and help them start that process. It's a big journey, and we want to be there for you.
So here's a timeline to bring our idea to fruition. We're going to launch our pilot program here at Emerson College in fall 2023. That gives us over a year and a half to get adequate funding. Over the next 2 years, we'll be doing constant check-ins, surveys, and just real-life conversations with our community. And then in fall 2025, we will measure our success, which we'll tap into in just a moment. And with those results, we can achieve our short-term goal. Within the next 5 years or so, we want to expand to other schools in the Boston area. Boston alone has 35 colleges and universities, so it's actually a choice city to launch our program in. And then lastly, our long-term goal of the next 10 years or so will be to create a national network. We really want to move into areas that lack serious aid and resources, possibly in the South or maybe the middle of the country.
And like we've been saying, outreach is incredibly important to us, and that is a huge way in which we will measure our success. We want to see how many students reach out to us and how successful the marketing platforms that we plan to implement are. We want to really resonate and have people know that we exist. Going back to school is not a quick and easy decision. It's something that takes a lot of thought and reflection, and we want to be able to help with that beginning of the process and make sure that you're ready and that we can support you in the best way possible. We also closely want to track graduation and retention rates. It's important not to just enroll people in our program, but see them through the entire process. And we want to make sure that we're best serving our community always, which is why we want to conduct regular surveys and check-ins with the community we're serving to make sure that we're prioritizing the needs that are most important to them.
So financing, who's going to fund this? We want the higher education establishments to be the ones funding our organization. Through our efforts, we're going to make their student bodies much more diverse. And then our employees are going to be, interns here at Emerson College. They're going to be the ones from work-study programs. They're going to be the ones looking for community service points there. So really, it's going to be incorporating the entire student body, even though it's focusing on our demographic. And then events. So our services are going to be free of cost. And those services are going to be like trustworthy references to local daycare centers. We don't want to operate on a standard 9 to 5 because we know our demographic might need to reach us once they put the kids to bed or once they clock off from work. But some events might work on like a sliding scale or a set price, and that would just be to get additional funding. And then donations. We want to reach out to alumni who have already climbed the higher academic ladder and really understand the hardships that come with it. And then we also want to reach out to local community services that have already been established because we want to work on a collaboration over competition basis. And we want to get as much aid as possible to our demographic. So the Growth Collective is actually the first of its kind in this area. And we think that as progressive as Emerson College is, it's the best school to launch our program at.
And we just want you to know that at any age, at any stage, the Growth Collective will help you grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Really
Amazing.
wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm going to start by asking Eric, master in all things education.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. I think it's an incredibly promising idea. And first of all, I think one of the hardest things about any of these ideas is how can it scale with a sustainable funding plan? And you have a great one. I do think colleges would pay you, cover your whole budget if you were able to prove to them that you could source non-traditional students and support them. I think a challenge is that I'd love you just to talk a little more about is it feels like you need to be in sort of 3 different businesses. You need to get good at supporting the students. I'm confident you could do that. Your own knowledge will be helpful. You need to get good at convincing colleges to reduce friction, maybe change a few policies to make it easier for non-traditional students to succeed. That's hard. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And then third, I think the hardest thing of all will be how do you find not a couple, like the two of you, but hundreds, maybe, eventually thousands of students like you so you can be that matching process. Because if you can do that, if you can be a pipeline to bring dozens and then hundreds of students to Emerson or other colleges, I think they'll definitely pay you for it. And you'll provide an incredible service to the students and the college.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
In terms of communicating with the schools, I think Greta and I recognize that we would need a little bit of additional support too from someone that knows the higher education system a little bit better. So we would be open to bringing in someone else to help advise us in that regard. And just from personal experience being here, I've had some struggles at Emerson with accessing resources and aid. And just persistence and going at it with a good attitude, I feel like has gotten me a long way. Just reaching out to as many people as I can rather than emailing one person with something I'm concerned with. I email 5, and someone gets back to me eventually. And it might be a little annoying sometimes, but I just try and come at them with a smile and be very persistent with what I'm working towards. So I think that'll be our model. And yeah, just knowing that we're not super women, and that community is at our basis. So bringing in others to help us form this is something we're very open to.
Yes.
I disagree. You are super women.
Yes. I second that.
Thank you.
And on that note too, when we reached out to people in our community, someone that I reached out to did mention that like syllabuses, they don't even mention kids. It's very generalized, not towards our demographic. So I do agree with you, Eric, who you're a major inspiration to us, to be to focus, to mention kids, mention being non-traditional, start the conversation, even in like things like the syllabus at the very beginning of the course.
Yeah, definitely raising awareness that we're here, because we find that there's an erasure culture sometimes, and that even in our classes we're generalized as being under 22, and there's nothing wrong with that. We love the classmates that we have, but just being recognized that we're in the room and that we have a slightly different experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I also want to encourage. Sorry, I was going to give you a shameless plug, Eric, for people to actually check out College for Social Innovation.
Yes.
It's
because
really cool.
they are doing this work for students who don't necessarily have access to the internships that more privileged students have. So also doing incredible work. And thank you for speaking with our students about that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, thank you. I do think this is an incredibly promising idea. And I think if you could build just one more sort of specific idea to consider, if you could use social media or maybe even a prize type competition to source, in your pilot period, 100 names of people who aren't in college or in your demographic, but want to go to college. And then you walk into the head of admissions or the president of Emerson and say, we have 100 names. They're like us. They want to come here. They can't now because they never thought they could, and we can help make it more possible. That will make it very tangible.
I love that.
Love
Love
that.
it.
Great idea.
Thank you, Eric. I'd like to hear now from Sabrina, who, as I know, because we go way back, started Horn Group and raised Horn Group while she was raising 2 girls. So also has had her share of multitasking and juggling lots of roles.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart to do what you're doing. Sorry about the sun coming in here. And yes, I did start a company and raise 2 daughters as a single parent for the entire time that I ran my company. So kudos to you. It is a wonderful idea. I have 2 comments for you. The first is that, a year and a half to get funding seems a long time. And I think your idea needs to take shape like now. And I do think you can get funding sooner than in a year and a half. So I would encourage you to maybe try and speed that up or condense your timeline a little bit. And then my second suggestion is, I'm not really quite sure what the service offering is, references, access to resources, certainly, but it would be good to know what the offering actually is. like the spokes of a wheel, all the different things that you can offer that will attract students and that will show other colleges and universities how much you've thought this through as a package.
Yeah, thank you. Do you want us to answer a little bit right now?
Sure, go for it.
So yeah, I think we see this as like a lot of interconnecting parts that definitely we recognize they would need to be hashed out much more and really planned out if someone were to be willing to help fund us and do this. But yeah, we definitely want it to be multifaceted. So we want there to be an academic focus where you're getting help with your experience in school, but we also want to be very community based. So helping with the unique struggles that come with being in school and raising a family or non-traditional. So having resources with like how to provide apply for extra like government aid and stuff like that too, such as food stamps, WIC, Section 8 housing, things that are very difficult to navigate but can make your experience in school easier. And then the third, I think, would just be to have a community space. Even if there's not an official event going on, Greta and I have been finding over and over again that there's just not even anywhere for us to gather on campus when we're not in class. Just throughout this week in the course, the dining hall's closed, so we can't eat in there, and you're not supposed to have your mask off anywhere on campus for safety, which we understand. But Greta and I sat on a wet bench one day this week and ate our lunch because there's not even a communal center or an off-campus lounge or something for us to have just a warm, safe space to be in. So that is something that we want to, where just you feel comfortable coming and hanging out for a few hours if you have some time to kill, and your kids can come too.
100%. I agree with exactly what Briana said. And just again, community is at our core value. So even if it's just like, hey, let's get together before the semester starts, all us student parents, non-traditionals, we're off-campus students, let's get together, let's have a meeting. Yeah, community is at our core value. So I think that's the main thing that we're going to provide, and then resources on top of that, special event nights, and again, someone to call after the standard 5 p.m. Our community service is going to be top notch.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
all so much.
Beautiful, beautiful presentation. You know, I'm reminded of how important it has been for Briana to be an Emerson insider and that she's part of the Student Government Association. It's really been a tremendous asset, and it's given her great insight.
Oh, but it also not just for her project. She has been so hugely helpful with everyone else's projects and how they might navigate the system. And we can say that for so many of the students.
They've been
Nathan,
helping each other.
Our resident graphic designer. If everyone's presentations look just slightly better, we have Nathan to thank for that.